What's going on, everyone? Thank you for once again for joining us for the Fifth Dimension podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Ryan was an awesome guest. Before we begin this actual episode, I just want to let you know my computer blue screen, which means it crashed in the middle of this recording. We were able to recover the file, but as I've recorded this episode, there are moments where individuals like go black, a black screen. So you will see that. I do apologize. You can still hear us talking, but there are moments, especially near the end as we finish up the episode, where it's just something that happened, something that I fortunately can't control. I'm just glad I got the stuff back. But for anybody that watches the episode, just be aware there are a couple moments where I'll talk or Jacob talks or even Ryan talks, and they'll completely go black, and the screen will go black on our little block area. So just want to make you aware of that. But anyways, this is a great episode, so enjoy us talking about the Howling Man. Thanks, guys.
There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! Will you tell him to be quiet? I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Nan Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fifth Dimension on Twilight Zone podcast. I am, of course, your host, Nick. As always, I like to say that now. Thanks to you, Jacob and Triv, for doing that. We're here once again to talk the Twilight Zone, Rod Serling's famous, important TV series at this point, at least to our hearts, I guess you could say. Today, we're talking about, or actually, I should say before, we're on audio feeds, Anchor, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, all that good stuff. So definitely check us there if you like to hear our sultry voices. Audio Boom, yes, Audio Boom. But we're here to talk what I would consider one of my personal favorite episodes. It's an episode that, of course, my intro is very much tied to. I was really excited when I got to do that intro. I got to thank Triv for that, because I like I kind of based it off the Count of Monte Cristo a little bit, being like locked in prison, reading the book. I think I was reading Count of Monte Cristo or something like that. But that's my intro, and you'll understand why when we talk about this episode. But we're here once again, like I said, season 2, episode 5 of the Twilight Zone. But before we begin, we of course introduce our host, which of course is Triv and Jacob, and we have a special guest who is, as far as I'm aware from everything I've seen on his YouTube channel, is a huge Twilight Zone fan, and that of course is Ryan from Ryan Cams and his own channel. Ryan, how you doing? Welcome to the Fifth Dimension.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really, really happy to be a part of this. I am a very big Twilight Zone fan, and my Twilight Zone series, where I review every episode, has been going since I started my channel. I've had significant breaks where I stopped covering it, and then I get back on, and then I stop and get back on. But I resolved to at least finish the series, because I love this show. I really do. It goes back to when my dad and I would watch it, because on the Sci-Fi Channel they would always have the like New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, the Twilight Zone marathon. I don't know if you all know anything about that, but that was one of our favorites, and we DVR a bunch of them and we would watch them. One of my favorite Twilight Zone memories is actually one of the first episodes we ever watched together, my dad and I. It was this one episode with Burgess Meredith. I know that really narrows the field, but it was with Burgess Meredith, and he works for this newspaper, and he creates this like typewriter kind of thing, and when he types on it and he types out news reports, the news that he types out actually happens. Like, say for example, he types out a car wreck happened here, and a car wreck ends up happening. And it's highly implied that this guy is pretty much the devil. But he's helping out this struggling newspaper, and so the newspaper owner's like, if it bleeds, it leads. I'll let it slide. And well, the goodwill doesn't last all that long. But I remember loving that, and watching the one from season 1 with Jack Warden, where he's on the asteroid. I believe, I can't remember the name of it.
The Lonely.
The Lonely.
The Lonely.
Yes. This is actually the first episode that Jacob ever appeared on, was The Lonely.
Yeah, I remember watching that and loving that. And so this is a show that's very precious to me. And the idea of my channel was to review like newer movies and also cover like review like every episode of a TV show, for example. And I resolved Twilight Zone because it's one of my favorites. When I finish it, I'm going to do Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is also one of my favorites, very near and dear to me. And it was either that or Batman the Animated Series, because Batman the Animated Series is so beloved, but I have no real nostalgia for it because it was a little before my time.
Now, let me ask you, is The Lonely your favorite episode, or do you have like a specific episode that you like the most of the Twilight Zone?
There's like 2 or 3 that I would consider favorites of mine. One is the one we're covering, Howling Man. One would be Eye of the Beholder. That was definitely one of my favorites. Those are definitely, if I had to pick my top 2, I think those 2 would have to be it, because I remember rewatching Eye of the Beholder for the first time in years, and I was just sitting there like, wow, the wizardry that they ended up doing, not showing any faces, keeping the makeup concealed as much as possible, and then when the big reveal happens and everyone just looks like pigmen and women, and you're just so like, what? It is like, it's so well done.
Yeah, it's actually the next episode. So I mean, I don't know if you're aware, Ryan, but we have this episode, The Howling Man. We have Eye of the Beholder next, and then Nick of Time is right after that. So it's
wow,
pretty good cavalcade of episodes. But
was that third one named after you, Nick?
Yes, I originally was a devil-looking like fortune-telling machine, and I became a podcast host. And
Nick is always time.
Yeah. So it was Nick of Time, and then he became Nick as always. So you changed your name and you didn't tell us?
Exactly.
And you
the devil has many names.
Shatner, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. I actually tortured him twice because I was the gremlin in 30,000, or was it 3,000 feet above?
10,000 feet.
Yeah.
Fun fact about this: the guy that plays Ellington is also in the horror at 37,000 feet.
Oh yeah.
Kind of has some similar things to this.
Oh, that's right.
Brother Jerome is actually played by John Caradine, who's David Carradine's father. So
and he was a B movie, like he was in so many, like he's in a lot of stuff, but in his later life he did a shit ton of B movies too. So
does he know kung
fu?
Does he know kung fu like his kid? Did he teach him the kung fu?
He might. I mean, he could be like his Morpheus.
Does he walk the earth?
He did for a while and then he stopped.
Right on. I was just wondering where David Carradine got it from.
I mean, John Caradine did play Dracula, so it is possible.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
He never really looked much older or younger, really.
So anyways, how are you two doing, by the way? I see you guys like on a daily basis, I think, but are you guys doing good? Everything going well? Jacob, I know you were in like the spiral of hell, not being able to see Thor: The Love and Thunder.
Yeah, the fact that I wasn't able to see it wasn't the problem as much as what all was happening.
Twice.
It was the fates, the movie gods were like, don't go see this. Still haven't seen it.
Well, they told you to go get the concessions, but not the actual movie.
Yeah, they wanted to fill me up with cheap popcorn and Twizzlers, but no movie. Man. No Thor ass. Didn't get to see Chris Hemsworth ass today, so.
Well, luckily you can go and just check out the GIF of that, and
or you can just talk to Chili Boy Productions. He'll tell you all about it. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure.
Larry, we love you. If you ever listen to this podcast, we love you, man. Anyway, so today we're talking a special episode. I think even Jacob is on board with this on this episode because I know he's very he definitely can bring some interesting commentary to the table when it comes to episodes that we truly hold dear, like Perchance to Dream. I don't know if I said that or not, but anyways,
really negative.
I'm kidding.
I think even Jacob might like this one. You don't like anything, yeah, asshole. Damn it.
No, I'm kidding. Wait, when we get to the invaders, you can come back at me. You can clap back at me. Anyways, so we're right. So we're talking season 2, episode 5, which is The Howling Man, which is considered one of the top classics of the Twilight Zone franchise. It's one that is directed by Douglas Hayes. Again, he's done a few episodes written by Charles Beaumont based off his story. Production code 173-3642, came out November 4th, 1960. Like we said, Wynant played David Ellington. John Caradine played brother Jerome. Robin Hughes played the Howling Man, and Frederic Ledebur played brother Christopher or Christopherus, which is difficult to say. Now this episode is one with a lot of talking, but it's also an episode that deals with a lot of important ideas about faith and religion. It also deals with, you know, the idea of the peace between World War I and World War II in a lot of respects. I know, Ryan, that you did a review on it, because that's the reason I actually asked you on for the Howling Man, because I really liked your review. But is this an episode you've seen many times, or was when you did your review, like when you do your reviews for your Twilight Zone, have you seen them all before? Because I know, like Jacob, you know, it's been a while since you've seen a lot of these episodes. Triv, I know you know this episode, but when it comes to like reviews for you, Ryan, do these episodes that you've seen before, or some that you haven't seen before? How do you handle it when it comes to, like, you know, stuff like that?
It's a good mix of some I've seen a ton of times, some I've seen like maybe 2 or 3 times, or some I've seen even once, and some I have not seen at all. Howling Man would definitely fall into the ones that I've seen at least a couple of times. It had been a minute, but I knew what had happened. I remember that was on one of those New Year's Eve marathons. That was when I first saw it, and then I ended up watching it a couple more times after the fact. So this was one of those that I'd seen a few times, but I did rewatch it just for the sake of having it fresh in my head.
Right. And I actually watched this with you, Jacob, today. So I think I had already asked you this question, but you remember this episode, but you say you didn't actually remember like where it was going to head and where it was going to go. And I mean, did you, like I said, you didn't have really like remember much of anything about the episode, I'm guessing?
No, I remember the name. I remember imagery from it, the whole "hoo" thing and all that. But I remember, like, the story wise, what was happening, where it was going, who was in it, all that. I didn't remember any of that. I just remember the image of the not the Howling Man himself, but the, which was it? Not the main monk guy, but the other guy who was helping him lock him in his room with the Austrian sounding accent. I remember that guy, and I don't know why. I made a joke about it last week, but it is true. I always think of Gene Hackman from Young Frankenstein every time I see it. Every time I see that guy. And I mean, but yeah, I didn't remember anything about the story. So I went in, I know I've seen it, because I've seen all of them. And there were bits and pieces as we were watching it. I was like, yeah, I kind of remember that, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I smoked too much dope when I was younger or something and fried my brain, but I just can't remember a lot of the episodes I watched 20 some years ago. Oh well.
Yeah. What about like Trev? The same thing with you. Like, I mean, do you remember this episode much at all, or did you go in this kind of like, oh, I can't remember what exactly happened?
I pretty much knew the entire thing. It's like Ryan can attest, this is one of those episodes that appears on every marathon. Like, it's just one of those steadfast ones that, whether it's Labor Day or New Year's, or it's probably one of the ones that gets replayed the most when they used to play it daily on Sci-Fi. But yeah, this one is like, I can't tell you beat for beat, but it's like one of those that just stands out because it has that set of things that makes it so uniquely memorable. So
yeah, it's I think I like this episode so much because, one, it does feel like a Twilight Zone episode, and it just has this like unique idea behind it. It feels like I want to say a very William Castle type feel to it. It has a feel of just like you sit here and listen to these guys talk, and they're not what you would call like, it's not like the most complex story, but just the idea, as we're going to learn, of why this man is being held captive and the constant telling of the guy that this is not a human being. I really found that fascinating. Then like even the setup, I mean, as Jacob alluded to, and I was talking about this earlier today, and you guys can attest to this too, we call this the moving Dutch angle episode.
oh my god,
where there's constant Dutch angles in this episode, which is which is fine because it allows for a very tense feel to it, especially when you're like off center and off kill. But I don't know. I find this episode, like the Obsolete Man, just so riveting to watch, even though, like I said, I like Ryan, when I say the list, I like the Monsters That Do It Maple Street a little bit more, but I mean, we'll kind of
I'm just gonna say with the Dutch angles, you kind of saw them going back and forth between like a normal camera shot and the Dutch angles. And I meant to keep track, but I kind of lost track. Do you think it was like the Dutch angles correlated to anything? Like when Father Jerome was talking, do you think that they did more Dutch angles than like when he said something dubious versus when he said something like normal? I guess I didn't even pay attention. Like I was trying to keep track, but I kind of lost track. Like the people that are speaking or the things that they're saying kind of correlated to the Dutch angles at all, do you think?
I think it was just supposed to make us feel uneasy and off kilter like it did the main character.
I wasn't sure.
I don't know when all they were, like when they're being used, but that's how it made me feel. Because whenever he was supposed to feel kind of out of it, that was their purpose. And they moved. You don't really see that with Dutch angles are usually pretty stationary, but they moved, which I thought made it even more uneasy, but like in a good way, not a bad way. There's a bunch of them though. I haven't seen this many Dutch angles since the four of us are dying, or maybe from Dusk Till Dawn too. It's a lot.
I'm sure the director of Battlefield Earth watched this and was like,
oh god.
That's what I was trying to think of. While we were sitting there, I was like, what is the other movie that has tons and tons of them? And I kept thinking from Dusk Till Dawn 2, it had a bunch of interesting camera angles. Not a good movie. But yes, Battlefield Earth ain't nothing but Dutch angle.
well, you were learning how to spell your name.
Let's just laugh like that the whole episode.
No, it's funny too, because I don't know if this is where Michael Bay got the school of Dutch angles, but like he does Dutch angles like it's going out of style. But we'll get into the plot a little bit of the story. It's pretty straightforward and standard. It just has a great twist to it, where we see a guy named David Ellington, played by H.M. Wynant. He is telling he's actually, you don't know who he's talking to, but he is in essence talking to the audience because he's a surrogate. And he talks about how he was going on. Okay, I laugh when he said this because he says I was post World War I, and I'll get into, and I don't know if you guys agree, but when Brother Jerome talks about peace for 5 years, there feels like a correlation where the peace between World War I and World War II, where as the things happen and
because of what they're doing here.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock became into power, that it started to
Alfred?
Who?
Mean
Actually, Alfred
Hitler?
Wait a minute.
I was like, what? Was that a joke?
No, I was. Oh my God.
I was sitting here thinking, oh, is like that name like code for something now?
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, Alfred Hitchcock did direct a movie called Notorious that involved Nazis. So, maybe.
See, this is the stuff you don't. This is me going, hey, Nick, you need to edit this out. No, I meant.
Oh no, leave this in there.
Oh my God, you guys aren't gonna let this down, are you?
Heil Hitchcock.
Oh my God. So anyways, okay, so let's go back to the plot. David Ellington, he talks about how he circa World War I, he's traveling, backpacking through Europe, and all I can think about when he said backpacking through Europe is American Werewolf in London. Is that right? Yeah, American Werewolf in London, about never travel to Europe. It's like it never works out, especially in horror genre and stuff like that.
Hostel.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so
and I
bad.
even wrote down, like, how common were isolated monasteries, because they show up in so many damn horror movies, and the only place they turn out well is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
And that didn't even turn out very well.
That didn't. No.
I mean, it could have turned out better, but at least there was the option for some good stuff.
Yeah,
I was hoping it would turn out like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Well, actually,
that's what I was thinking of in the beginning. It's Rocky Horror.
Yeah, it kind of was. You're right.
Rocky.
Dr.
That castle. I'll say that castle
Brother
is.
Let's do the time warp again.
Oh God, no.
I say that castle is. I don't know if it's like used in like Hammer films or something like that, but it looks like a Hammer film castle in a lot of respects. I know. What was the British? They recently did a film with Daniel Radcliffe. What was
The Woman in Black.
yeah. The company behind that is known for like British horror films.
Yeah.
Oh,
You should know
Dark
the-
Castle.
No, Dark Castle. Let
It
me
was
look this
Hammer,
up.
wasn't it? Wasn't it like the new version of Hammer?
No, they're known for something. Let me look it up because this is gonna bother me.
Yeah, you're right. It was like it's an older company that's known for
Oh, is
like
it
those kind of
Jonas?
gothic horrors. No,
Because I know Hammer Studios did all of those Dracula and Frankenstein movies with
Yeah.
Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing.
That was kinda their-
Oh, it is Hammer Films.
yeah, I thought it was Hammer
Oh,
because
I
they
thought it was
haven't
something
they haven't really
else.
done anything in a long time, and they did that one.
They did The
Yeah.
Lodge a couple of years ago. I haven't seen
Which was
it,
good.
but I heard it was good.
Yeah, it's real good. You should definitely, especially if you like horror. That's a good film.
Not Dave Franco, the other Franco brother.
James.
Yeah, James Franco.
Oh, maybe. Well, there's a
in it?
horror film. No, this is
I
one
don't
with
know.
Riley Keough. Anyways, I'm gonna go down a black or a hole here in a second of just trying to look for
That's
films.
what she said.
Oh, please shut up. Anyways,
Hey.
hey, have you not seen recent what's his face, Ryan George? He just says shut up in every video. Pretty funny. Anyways, he enters an ancient castle in the middle of the village of Schwarzhof. I'm guessing Schwarzkopf. I'm not.
Let's go.
Yeah, we'll just
Hitchcock.
go Schwarzhof.
Shorts
And-
off. Yeah, this is my kind of place.
Take
Shorts
off,
off,
your,
everybody.
take off your shorts off and jacket.
Well, it is called Wolf Ring Castle, so I mean, you might get married while you get your shorts off, you know. So,
What
anyway,
happens
so
when you do get your shorts off?
Oh my god! So he knocks on the door. Of course, he bangs on the door, and this is when we're introduced to Frederic Ledebur,
Oh, yeah.
brother Christopher, whatever you want to call him. He's like, "You will not enter this room," and he's like,
Shall not pass.
He
And then
says
2
that
seconds
at one
later-
point. Later on,
he's
he
like-
does. He says, "He shall not pass."
and Jacob's like, "Ooh, Lord of the Rings."
Yeah.
But we're introduced to brother Christopher, and he somehow lets this guy in, even though he should know better than to let like strangers into places, because as we see through this episode, it doesn't go very well. Not well at all for this group of individuals. But so
Truly, it kind of feels like, you say don't touch the machetes, but there's like machetes laying everywhere. That's kind of how it feels.
Am I all right? Maybe I heard wrong. The main guy, the main character, whatever his name was, he when he's sitting there talking to us or the housekeeper, but we think it's us in the beginning. Did he not have an accent? I swear, when he was talking to us, he had like a Romanian sounding accent, because I was like, this guy sounds like Count Dracula. But
He did
then,
have
like,
something going.
but then later in the episode, he didn't.
I don't think it was that pronounced, but I think it was definitely there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit. I know it is a little bit much, but I mean, it was definitely an accent, a European or Middle Eastern European, whatever. But later on, he's like, "I'm American." I was like, "Yeah, right." But then I started listening more, and I was like, "Okay, now he's talking more of the time in American accent." So was his accent just like coming and going through this thing? Where was he supposed
well,
to
I
be?
mean,
I
he's
think
from
he's a spy.
Detroit, Michigan, so I don't know if that helps.
I swear in the beginning he was talking with an accent. I could be wrong.
No, he definitely was, because that's one of the things I always remember is the way that he was speaking throughout, and it definitely that there was maybe that's to back up the kind of like, okay, is he crazy or is he like truthful and just had a lot of trauma? Maybe he
Detroit.
just visited like pretty much every place and he picked up a little bit of
Picked it up,
accent from
yeah.
everything, and it kind of got jumbled.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay. Yay.
According to weathermen and rappers, it's very cold in the D. So that type of thing. But
I could explain the
Um,
accent. He's got a very cold D.
anyways, so Ellington is brought in by brother Christopher. Ellington is brought in. Oh my god. It's not Mr. Beavis, people. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, he's brought in by brother Christopher, and he hears the howling coming from wherever they try to play it off like it's some kind of horn or some bird outside. I don't remember
No,
exactly what it
that's
is.
not what he
Wind.
said. He saw what he said. Yeah, exactly. He hears, and he goes, "What was that?" He says, "Is comical." He goes, "The wind," and he walks off. The wind. You could have come up with something better than that. It's the wind.
His father, Joe High, Jiminy jacked up.
Jiminy crickets. Yeah.
Yeah, he stubbed his toe and he howls.
Oh,
Yeah, something.
this is our hunchback Quasimodo. He rings a bell every so often.
Yes, that'd be better than the wind. And then he just walks off.
And also, this is.
God.
I was just gonna say this is random, but like throughout this entire thing, they're trying to play it off like, no, there's no man here. You're not seeing a man. Why is it when any time that someone that has information is trying to convey it in movies like this, they can't just say, okay, there's a dude that we keep in the dungeon because he is Lucifer. We swear it. They always have to be like, he's not a man. There's no man here.
Yeah,
Because they need to make it 24 minutes.
You could be like, it's not a man. He looks like a man. He's the devil, though.
Right.
Done. I mean, you still got to explain some more because the guy's going to be like, what? But, at least there's not the mystique of there's no man.
Like
There's no
Ellington
man.
went to the Father Jerome school of like trying to explain, existential shit. It's like, stop. You clearly don't. You can't do that. Soapbox.
No, it's just funny when you watch it because it is actually a very serious episode, but there are some things like that are very 60s and 50s. I mean, you can tell that are just a little wonky for our viewing pleasures in 2022. But we're introduced to Brother Jerome, who Jacob called what was it, Moses or something like that, or God?
Yeah,
or...
that's where Moses went after he parted the Red Sea.
I have done my godly duties. Now I shall retire.
And that was quite the fashion choice for all of them. It was beard, togas, and staffs for every one of them.
But he's like, we have no place for you here.
There's
Okay,
no
if you
room at
pass
the
out, we
end.
have place for you here. That type of thing. And I mean, you can tell that there's something we know now what's happening, but it's interesting to see that these individuals are just like so protective of the secret, and the guy walks in and it's just like he's upending the order of everything, and he's like the be careful what you wish for type of guy. He's the guy that is always gonna be tempted. He's temptation, basically, is what I gathered from his character, because he's tempted from the Howling, he's tempted from the, as we'll talk about later, he's tempted from the guy in the cell who's howling. And when Ellington wakes up, he walks over the door, sees a man locked in a room. Apparently the man's, he's tall enough, or his arms are long enough to grab Ellington's shoulders, but not, of course, a staff, which we'll find out is the staff of truth. And stick of truth. Yeah, the stick of truth. Yes, I was waiting for Cartman actually to come in at some point, but but the man says they're mad, they're raving mad. He explains how he was walking with his like significant other, and apparently they don't allow kissing in this village, which is I guess I don't know, very unprogressive of the times. Yeah, I was waiting for, we just need John Lithgow to show up, and as one of the,
I was gonna say, all we need is John Lithgow showing up.
That's all anything needs.
And thinking about the attire of this cult, I was thinking to myself, wait, John Caradine was in something, and then it turns out he was Aaron in the 10 Commandments, so he was just paying homage to that.
That makes sense now. See, Jacob, there's a connection there from
Moses.
It's all connected.
15 commandments. 15. Oh shit. 10 commandments.
I just
well, history of the world there for anybody who didn't know.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for History of the World Part 2 to come out eventually, some point here soon.
Would come out at the same time as Jews in Space.
Mel Brooks just turned 92, and so not
crazy.
He got a few more in him.
He's got some in him left.
But as Ellington's talking to this man in the cage, the man in the mirror, whatever you want to call him, he is a person
to change as well.
Hey, that's something I just realized. There was no, or maybe I missed it. There's no like mirror play in this episode, was there?
Because if they look in the mirror, they won't see a reflection. Oh, this is about Dracula, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess he is that guy.
I mean,
Actually,
kind of.
Jake, I'm disappointed in you. You made me forget something.
I was gonna ask, but you were going along, and the prologue doesn't really kick in until a little bit into the thing.
Yeah, it's when he's talking. He's when so this is the point where I edit it into the beginning of the episode. But Jacob, we need to do the opening narration, which is against another green screen, I guess. Chroma key.
Yeah.
It's back projected or rear projected.
Was it?
And,
It was.
And of course, Rod Serling and his Pan comes in to tell the tale of this howling man. So, Jacob, have at it.
The prostrate from Mr. David Ellington, scholar, seeker of truth, and regrettably finder of truth. A man who will shortly arise from his exhaustion to confront a problem that has tormented mankind since the beginning of time. A man who knocked on a door seeking sanctuary and found, instead, the outer edges of the Twilight Zone.
So,
I'm so happy it wasn't like 5 paragraphs long this time. I really
just wait till
struggled
next
with
week.
the one last week.
just wait till next week, Jacob.
Oh, God.
Study up.
But the kind of close at the act, Brother Jerome brings Ellington into his room, very shifty about what's going on. They have no such authority to impose on him. He talked to the no man. Basically, he's trying to not explain who this howling man is. He's trying to, push Ellington to the side. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Basically, Ellington's like, I'm going to call the police. I'm like, you're in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what police you're going to have. They probably already know this guy's up there because apparently they fought back against the devil, but he decides, Brother Jerome, before the end of the act, finally decides to tell Ellington that, this guy's not a man. He's actually
Don't say
the
it.
devil.
I want to say it. No.
Okay. Rewind.
Not a man. Satan.
Oh my God, that's great.
I've been saving that since earlier today.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Really invoked
Nice.
some church lady feelings from me.
Speaking of, so the look on Ellington's face the first time he hears the howl is so great. He's just like, his eyes roll back and he's all like, oh God.
You think
He's really excited about it. He's like, oh, I'll have what he's having.
He's almost like turned on by it. He's like, oh.
Man, oh.
Later on, he has another look like that. Like, dude's got a very, like, I don't know, expressive, elastic face or something.
Well, in the end
You
of the
think-
episode, which we'll get there, when he takes his dramatic fall, I don't know what all that was about, but there's something going on there. He just looked overcome.
That was out of, like, I don't know, the original Star Trek or something. Like, he took a book out of Captain Kirk's page, or a page out of Captain Kirk's book or something.
The stick of truth.
Yeah, I would say Rod Serling's probably in the background going, "How louder?" He's doing like the whole Ed Wood thing. Pull the strings. He's like,
Ooh,
"How
the
louder?"
strings.
How
but that
loud,
leads.
you son of a bitch.
That's the end of the act. Brother Jerome, as Jacob alluded to, and the church lady he reveals it's the devil, and as
Satan?
we always. Oh,
It's
yeah, you should just
backwards
leave
for
that
some reason, but I don't care.
It looks right to
but-
us, so.
Yeah,
Okay, right on.
exactly.
It looks backwards
but-
to me.
But anyways, so we're at the end of the act, and I will go to Ryan first since he's our guest. And Ryan, I know you really like this episode. You've talked about it, but as watching this from a critical standpoint, for like a critical review standpoint, watching the first act, not talking about the second act, what did you think of how the story was leading up to as the act ended? Like, you go into this like as a reviewer mindset. What was your overall thoughts on it? As a like that from that angle, I guess you could say.
I thought it was a very effective tease to like say, oh, this is the devil, and you're like, oh, you should have started with that. And going back to one point about the Dutch angles, I was kind of coming up with a theory in my head of like the Dutch angle. You when you see it, you kind of think of, oh, you're kind of supposed to feel uneasy, so. In it, it's a bit of a role reversal. When you're with Brother Jerome or the brothers, you're kind of uneasy. That's where the Dutch angles are in full effect. But when you're with the Howling Man, it's kind of still. So it's like, maybe this guy is telling the truth, and maybe this cult has him like kidnapped her or something. So that's something that I picked up, and now I can't not think of it. But I thought that the seed planting of, oh, we believe that this is the devil, and I definitely appreciate how they didn't just out and out say, oh yeah, that's the devil. I mean, Brother Jerome said it, but again, it's in a place where Brother Jerome's not exactly the most reliable narrator in the world, So it's just a question of, what do you truly believe? I love that. I love the spirit of that.
Yeah, it's cool to me to watch, because what, as you're aware, and we talked about on the podcast before, the strongest episodes of the Twilight Zone have a great kind of lead up and great kind of character arc, I guess you could say, and they don't make you feel like they're either being rushed, as some episodes do. They don't feel like it's, I know, Jacob, you're especially vocal about this, but like episodes that just like you watch and you go, I mean, we talked about in the second season, the episodes you watch and you're like, what is even going on? What the hell is this? And then it just doesn't get any better. But here, to me personally, I feel like it works really, really well, just based on the writing of Beaumont and how good he is, because he's like the John Swartzwelder of who writes for The Simpsons of Twilight Zone. He wrote like a ton of episodes. But what do you guys think about this first act? As I always say, like from a critical standpoint, what do you think of it? What do you think how it works out?
Well, for as much as I kind of joked about with Father Jerome and the way that he couldn't like straight up say, there is a devil here, and all that stuff, he does talk about truth from a certain point of view. And I can see, like, if you're in that headspace all day, you would not refer to what was inside their cell as a man. So like, I like the perspective of them playing it as kind of truth from a certain point of view, and how two people can be talking about the same thing, but have totally different like backgrounds with it. And the Dutch angles were, I love a good Dutch angle when it's well played, and as compared to The Four of Us Are Dying, the Dutch angles are so well played here. One other
Dutch heaven.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. One other kind of fun point, talking about the cell and stuff. Originally, the cell was supposed to have a cross in front of it as compared to the staff, but they thought that might be too religious, so they went with kind of the overarching umbrella of the Staff of Truth, which worked well.
So no English tea and no crosses.
Nope.
Interesting.
For different reasons, but
yeah, exactly.
The English tea, Ryan, relates back to Judgment Night.
Judgment Night, yes, I remember that. I saw an interview where it's like the weirdest freaking thing. Like sponsors just wild. Is
they
like
are.
You can't have coffee. Like you can't have tea. It must be coffee. Like no one's drinking it. All right, we're pulling 50% of your funding. Get out of here. Out of here now.
But sell us this cat litter.
Ovaltine.
Yes.
The freaking the Crummy Commercial.
Son of a bitch.
Jacob, what did you think?
I thought it was fine at this point. I mean, I was intrigued to see what was going on. I didn't know it was the devil per se. Oops, spoiler alert. Or Satan, but
Satan.
I knew something was going on. Obviously, I mean, that's no secret. So I mean, I was intrigued. It didn't like drag or anything. It wasn't like, I was intrigued to know what's going on, what's up with these monk guys. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't, and up to this point at least, I wasn't as high on this episode as everybody else. I know a lot of people going into it. I also knew, I remember, okay, this is a very popular episode. A lot of people like it. So I'm expecting, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe expectations were up there. It's like, is this going to be, the Invaders, Monsters on Maple Street, that level? And up to this point, though, I was kind of like, I try and separate myself from that expectation going into it, but I mean, you kind of can't help it. So I was kind of like, it's fine. I'm enjoying it. It's Twilight Zone. It's not bad. I'm just waiting to see, we get the big reveal to, he's Satan. I'm like, okay, I feel like there's more to it, but go ahead. So yeah, I was cool with it up to this point.
Yeah, it's once again, I guess I just like it because it's so simple. It's like, the apple on the tree, don't touch the apple, but the Eve touches the apple. It's that type of thing. It's like, you have kids, Jacob. When you had kids when you were younger, you're like, don't touch that, and they touch it anyways, and they cause all kinds of chaos.
My oldest is 21 and she does that. But and see, that's what it is. I didn't pick up on some of that stuff, like the World War, the peace between the wars and stuff like that. So
actually,
like,
I didn't until we watched it today, believe it or not. So
and some of the more religious aspects of it, obviously there's religion included. I mean, there are the monasteries, Satan, all that, but So some of the stuff here today is opening my eyes to some things, looking at it differently, saying, okay, yeah, there was that. There's a bit more nuance to it. Yeah, like it is a simple Twilight Zone episode, but as we usually find with those, there is more stuff in the background, some more nuance and stuff like that. I read the thing, like Trish said a second ago, about the cross. I found that interesting. It's not really so much about the episode that back then, because I even remember a time back in the 80s and the 90s, even the early 2000s, when religion was like, it's like, I'm not going to get into them, but it's like politics was a new religion. When religion divided people so much that it was like, oh, we got to be careful about what we put in this and that, because, you know, we put a cross, it could be religious and that could divide these people, that people, and blah, blah, blah. They worried that much about it. I don't feel like they would worry about that nowadays. Now it'd be more about, you know, if we put this, some political group might think that or something like that. So found that interesting, but that really wasn't, you know, the show's intention so much.
Yeah, it's. I think like I said, I come out with the biggest idea of just the temptation and the idea of our beliefs in things. I guess you could say, you know, the fact that the devil's playing on our biggest fears and our biggest what's that word called?
Desires.
Like desires as well. I always find that fascinating. That's the thing, like I always found fascinating with the monsters they're doing on Maple Street, is the idea of these two individuals, these two aliens are playing off the fears and desires of these people on the street. And it's the same thing here, just told on a much smaller scale, because as Ryan, you probably know this as well, they the budget for these episodes coming up were kind of dramatically slashed. So they had to be creative. And you talked about before we start recording, we're getting ready to get into, in about 5 episodes, the VHS tape or the tapes,
the video
episodes.
tape era.
Yeah, begin with the night of the Meek, and it's
cursed time.
Yeah, thank God it only lasted like 6 episodes, but
did they shoot on videotape for?
Yeah,
that would have been early videotape too, I guess.
They shot it in Studio City, California, basically where like they shot like The Young and the Restless or something like that, and it looked that way too. And it has not translated well. Like seriously, I was watching Static, which was one of the videotape episodes for the review coming up, and I literally could see tracking lines. And I'm watching this on like my 4K television. And I have to be like, wait, do I have to bang on the TV? This is a 4K television here. And it's not the television, it's the episode going and going back. So
what episode did it start with?
Night of the Meek.
Yeah, that was the first one and the best one, ironically.
That ironically, like you me saying ironically as well, that episode gets a lot of flack, but it's actually a pretty I think you've seen it too. It's a pretty like thoughtful episode for what it's doing. You know, it's about Santa Claus and stuff like that. But
Art Carney is excellent in that episode, and then the main villain is one of the jurors from 12 Angry Men, the guy with the glasses, and he was also the voice of Piglet up until like his death. Like he voiced Piglet in everything Winnie the Pooh related. So whenever you watch that episode again, just think of an angry piglet chewing out Art Carney in a Santa suit.
That's kind of awesome.
Well, it's like the guy that did Frosty doing this terrible, almost softcore called Microwave Massacre. It was like this low budget, just crazy movie.
You know what made that better?
You said Static was shot like that too? The episode Static was shot on video?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
I know. I'm just totally breaking it up right here. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can tell. It's real.
The frame. It's the frame rate.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the soap opera look.
Yep.
Which is usually a higher frame rate, which you would think would be better.
And they did that because they cut the cost of the episodes. They're like, we need to shoot on videotape because it's cheaper. And Rod Serling, I guess. Ryan, you probably agree. You probably know this as well. Rod Serling put up with some serious crap with CBS back in the day. Like they were writing him apart, and he finally just kind of. I guess he was having fights and arguments with Paramount and CBS, and it got bad. So that's why season 5 is basically mostly just hired writers and stuff like that instead of Rod Serling.
Makes sense.
Yeah, resolution on it doesn't look that different, but the frame rate is a whole lot higher, so it moves smoother. But that's not what we're conditioned to, like 24 frames per second.
Yeah.
Maybe 30.
The last videotape episode is called Long Distance Call, which is just a couple of episodes after Static. Static
2 episodes
Prime
after
Mover,
Static.
then Long Distance.
I think I
Huh.
watched. That's
It's about
the
halfway
episode I
through the
watched.
season.
Yeah, that was one of the episodes I watched a review on that was talking about how disturbing that episode is with the grandmother. But
The
going back
Invaders, was
into
it shot on video?
no,
Invaders, they did not.
yeah, you're lucky on that one because I would have knocked that down I
It
would
was
knock
right
that below
at-
the fever.
Well, it's right at. I mean, The Invaders is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes before Static. So I don't know where the videotape era started, but it was right around the time of The Invaders. Whew, dodged that bullet.
Actually, before I get into the second act, can you imagine if A Thing About Machines was shot on videotape with the visual work that they were doing?
I probably would have hidden some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't know. Well, the resolution it looks like it's about the same, so it may be a slightly higher. May have shown up even more. Because the higher resolution you go, the more you can see. So I don't know.
yeah.
Being
Peter
that
Jackson.
old, yeah, being that this old. Going back to that episode real quick, and the fact that you could see that string on that razor, that shows you. I mean, that must have been a massive string, or they had like a light shining right on it, just reflecting off of it or something crazy. Anyway.
During so long, you had to operate it in time zones or something.
But going into the second act, this is where we get the big reveal what exactly this story is, why his brother Jerome and these monks are hiding this guy. And basically the village, they were, individuals. He had a scholarship. He had a degree. I think he was like traveling the world as he was, brother Jerome. And he talked about, I may be misstating this, but I think he showed up at this village. They were fighting. He had been following in like crowds and stuff like that. Had been kind of seeing Satan or the devil or however you want to look at it. And like I find that interesting because when you think about history and damn it, when you think about history in the darkness of our history, there's always that feeling of like, because we'll get into an episode which is about I guess they're gonna like hang an African American man, a black man, and like a black cloud comes over the town as it happens. But this is the same thing here. Like you can see like the darkness with World War I, with anything going on, where it always feels like there's an entity in the crowd or something's there that is making people angry and making people mad. And you keep seeing the same face in the crowd, and he ends up in this village, and this village actually is able to fend off this devil character, and they're able to imprison him in this this kind of rundown, it's called Wolfring Castle, where Wolfring was the guy who ran the castle. Now it's dilapidated. They turned it into a monastery of sorts. And so I get it.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Yes, Castle Wolfenstein, which is actually kind of funny. But with that said, when he's explaining all this and he's talking about all this, Ryan, start with you as always. What do you think about that? Like, the ideas and concepts of what he's presenting and how they captured the devil and how it changed a lot of things and how he was seeing these things, about history, learning about it in school and stuff like that. And then, you see this in the real world, the kind of darkness that prevails in, across the world and even in America today. Like, how do you feel? Like, does that hit with you? Well, like, how did you feel about when he was talking about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I unfortunately have to quote a Kevin Spacey movie, but here it is. The greatest trick that the devil ever pulled was that showing the world that he didn't exist. And I think that definitely applies here, in that the Howling Man's like I'm stuck here, man. You gotta help me. And then the dude's like, all right, knock the stick of truth off. You're free. And it's like, thanks. Off to start World War II now. And it's like
turned into Kaiser Soze.
Yeah, basically.
He turned into Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
That too.
That's right. Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock. Apparently, same thing.
Playing back off of what we were talking about with the fears and the desires and all of that, and also the desire for the main character to know is this really the devil? What do I do if I open this? What does happen if I open this door? It's like curiosity killed the cat and all that.
It's like Schrodinger's devil. Is that how you say it?
Schrodinger's devil.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not good with words apparently. But what about you two? Like, Triv and Jacob, like, how do you feel about what he's talking about? Because, I mean, this is why Triv's a 2D anime character, because we keep her trapped with the hot cup of Uranus, truth of staff,
Get weird.
Oh man, I was like,
did we just stumble into a Black Mirror episode?
Basically, yeah, that's my whole life.
Daniel Kaluuya riding a bike forever and ever and ever.
Essentially, yeah. So I grew up in a very religious household, not in like a super restrictive way, but like they believed a lot of like apparition things and like mystical apparitions of Mary and all this kind of stuff. And there was always that, the devil
Jesus on toast.
Yeah, to some extent, not quite that extreme, but in that realm. And there was a lot of, the Mary came down and said, oh, the devil was under wraps for all this time. If you guys repent, then, there won't be any other great wars, but people being people, they came up and, World War II and Korea and Vietnam and all that stuff. And it, for that perspective, I can't not think of that because it personal connections and stuff. But, I mean, it's the question of whether it's, first off, whether it's in these guys' heads or not. Secondly, if it's like their perspective on what is in the thing versus, seeing him as a man versus seeing him not as a man. And then the idea of just like, well, his own questions of, okay, is this the devil? Is it not the devil? Why can't he lift off this simple staff? Even though it's a big scary stick, it's still just a stick. It's like that meme about the Cheeto holding the door shut,
Yeah.
And I just had another quote pop into my head from Matthew McConaughey. He was doing this speech and he said something along the lines of the only thing that we can count on as people being people. And I probably butchered that, but it definitely applies here.
Welcome to the fifth dimension where we all bitch. No,
I found it odd that I guess I didn't grow up in a like super religious household. There are religious, like heavily religious people in my family, so I know some of that. But I found it odd that, and I guess I find there's a lot of situations you can apply this to. When this monk, essentially, or whatever we're going to call him, father, tells this guy who here's the thing. I'm presuming that this gentleman, what's his name? Ellington? David?
Ellington,
yes.
Yeah, Ellington.
I'm presuming he's a God-fearing man or whatever. I don't. They never go against that in the show, right?
Yeah, I don't think they ever
kind of led to believe that.
They never say he's not, but he just kind of comes across as just a normal guy. So there's probably faith, but it's not like,
I think the
carry around your own, personal staff of truth until you've caught the devil and hide him in a closet.
But the assumption back then was, the unknown or the unsaid belief was that pretty much everybody in America, at least, was a good Christian believer and all that. It's whatever, that's fine. But he's told this thing that your belief tells you of a lot of stories of these fantastical things. I don't say that in a diminutive way, but like a lot of things that have happened in this belief that you have. So I'm telling you that this person that is a big part of your belief system, we caught him, we got him, and he's here, and we're holding him at bay. And he's just kind of in disbelief. And I'm like, why do you automatically discount that to this guy? Because he does. He's like, yeah, I believe you, man, sure. But he obviously doesn't think that's the devil because he lets him out, unless he's a Satanist or something. But he automatically there's automatic disbelief. And I've always found that really interesting when you have people they subscribe to a certain religious belief, but then they're told something that does fall in line with their beliefs, but then they're just like, and nothing, I'm not disparaging anybody's religious beliefs, but I've just always found it odd that if you subscribe to that, why not why automatic? I'm not saying you got to believe everything everybody says, but why automatically just discount it? Oh no, you're crazy. Why is it crazy? Is that any crazier than say some of the other stories that are part of the beliefs that you believe? So I don't understand why he automatically gets that. I mean, it's a 24-minute Twilight Zone episode, and I'm probably looking way too much into something, but
that's what we do, sort of too,
Yeah. So I mean, when he lets him out, I am kind of confused as to like what happened. He let him out before he turned into 1978 Doctor Strange.
with horns.
Yeah, he lets the devil out. Of course, as we know, here he comes. And he opens the door. And he didn't like fling the door open and knock the guy down. And he just takes this super dramatic non-stunt man fall and is like, and has like this look on his face like, I mean, is this like a thing that the devil just puts out there and like makes people feel this way and just fall out like, young women at an Elvis concert? What was going on there?
My assumption is kind of like it's that one, he's Ellington is still dealing with being sick, which is a deus ex machina, if there ever was one. Like
Sure.
his fever kind of comes and goes and stuff. But I do think it was kind of that.
He's got the fever.
Yeah, yes, he has the fever. A slot machine is, stage left. But exactly. But he's got, I think it's that. I think it's the revelation that, oh shit, this is actually the devil and I let him loose. I think it's probably it's supposed to be like the influence of the devil kind of overcoming him. I'm assuming
it's the moment when he knew he fucked up.
Exactly. It's probably a combination of those things. And it was just one of those, like I say, Kirk from Star Trek. I mean, he did
watch it.
There's a Harry Potter from Star Trek Wars.
Ooh, watch it. No.
Exactly. But no, it was that like they kind of did those dramatic falls in that, I think.
That one was real dramatic. I mean, I was digging it. I liked it. It's like he was like, ah. It's like it almost showed him like it like panned out too soon or something. It showed him like put his hands down and said, "Oh, I'm falling." It was like one of my kids trying to do a fall in the living room or something. I was like, yeah, that was real.
And if they're gonna keep this guy who's like apparently temptation and everything, and they're gonna keep them locked in the room with Christophersis and like whatever his name is, you think they would actually give the key to Brother Jerome instead of falling asleep with the key around his neck? Like, Ellington's going to take the key. I mean, either they're really stupid and they have no logical reasoning in their brain, or they just don't think Ellington's going to do something like that. And everybody and everyone would want to are curious, and you would do the same thing. And it's just it's weird. It's not like the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's
Yeah.
weird.
This has happened before. We have it chronicled.
Exactly.
Human beings are curious, and the devil has a way of playing them. So maybe you guys should take some more precautions besides a little stick of truth on the door.
Exactly.
If I was responsible for that, I'd do like Mission Impossible 1. I'd have like a no sound meter, no pressure sensor. Like if you drop an ounce of sweat on there, it's like there it goes.
Yeah.
Or at least
put him in one of those magneto cells from X-Men.
There you go.
The plastic prison. Or if you can't afford that, you can just have like you walk out the door and you're like hit in the face with like garlic or something, like whole like things of garlic just like hitting you in the face. And then after that, there's like a spray gun, like a super soaker with holy water shooting down on you, like back in the cell.
Yeah.
I would
Back,
also
demon. Satan.
I would also add you were asking about like why confronting something physical of your faith is more difficult than like why it automatically goes to crazy. And this is just a thought, I don't know, but I think that the idea of like an abstract concept, even if you really truly believe it like hardcore, when that's brought to like something you can touch and feel and all that stuff, I do think that brings it to a different level. It makes it absolute, and you go, oh shit, well I need to stop stealing cookies and having sex with my brother's fiance, and all that kind of stuff. Like it brings it more to be real and not
that would have made for a very interesting ending to this episode. Having sex with your brother cousin,
brothers, sisters, uncles, former roommate.
What does that make us?
Absolutely nothing.
Sir, she's
I've
going from suck to blow.
Here we go. I've just always found that interesting. And I mean, I understand why, because it sounds crazy. Even if that is your belief system, I've just always found like, I'm like, well, does that not make some people, I mean, it would, does me, I mean, does that not make you like, not question one's faith, I guess, which not to get too far on religion. I say I don't talk religion and politics, but just that's what this episode's about. So, I mean, does that not make people like question some of that stuff sometimes and go, well, if I'm not willing to, if that seems so nuts to me that someone would say that, or people say, oh, I've been talking to angels, talking to God, talking to the devil, whatever, all these things that there's, documented proof within their belief system, then I'm like, if that sounds so insane to you, but you subscribe so hardcore to this, doesn't that make you say, well, maybe either I've interpreted something wrong here or something I should probably, because like they will take the Bible and things that have happened there like as quote unquote gospel, but then when someone says, oh, that's happened to me, it's like, oh no, you're nuts. Like that's got to make you think, or something. There's a disconnect somewhere. I mean, I get why we as people, because we don't see that every day.
Well,
and people don't believe what they don't see.
Yeah.
I've been going to Catholic churches for on and off for my whole life, and I've seen people who you would never paint as religious doing very genuinely like wonderful things and like using God as like the highest form of good to like shoot at and like try and aspire to be. And I've also encountered people who are basically Bob Gunton from the Shawshank Redemption, but they always like throw their Bible around and say like, this is not what the Bible would say. Have you read the thing? Because I've read significant portions of it, and you're not doing anything that book says. But it's really just in the person and their actions at the end of the day.
Sure.
Well, look at aliens. Like you can have people that say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Nick.
No, go ahead.
You could say like someone, you talk to someone, they say, oh yeah, I believe that there's life out in the universe. But then someone talks about being abducted and it's like, that's crazy. It's some, backwater hillbilly that, was drunk off a hooch and high on meth and, had a corn cob stuck up his ass. And he's the one that gets, taken up into the spaceship and, probed or
Makes
whatever.
Sense.
But
I mean, if you were looking into a species, would you not want to be like, let's get this outlier right there, because there's something definitely odd going on with this. What is sticking out of his ass? I don't know, but we got something else we could put in there. Let's probe in there and see if there's more.
We can find a way.
Butt corn.
But what's also interesting about this episode, as we're talking about religion and stuff like that, is just the faith of one Rod Serling. Oh, he didn't. It's ironic that he brings in these topics and ideas almost as like a almost as a way to what's it? Yeah, I mean, he was like almost an atheist at that point, but he brings it in as almost kind of a throwback at the population of the world and their beliefs and stuff like that, and how
I don't think he ever. This sounds so 2022. I don't think he ever identified as atheist, but he did say he was not religious.
It's interesting how a lot of episodes bring in like the idea of religion and stuff like that. It's almost like it's played for to kind of push back against people and stuff like that.
It makes sense. I mean, because regardless if you believe, subscribe, whatever to any type of religion or don't, I mean, there are some interesting stories there. And I mean, hell, it's not the first time we've seen that in Hollywood. Look at the movie with Russell Crowe, Noah. It's directed by Darren Aronofsky. I can't always screw that guy's name up. He's a documented, well-known atheist. And he directed the movie of Noah.
And it showed.
Yeah, well, yeah. I wasn't gonna go there. I was just saying that he directed it.
Well, he tried to take it from kind of a I've not seen it, but he kind of tried to take it from a scientific quote unquote perspective, right? Based on what was known at the time, right?
Just look at Mother. Mother's the same way.
That's true.
There's I ain't gonna say all that movie's scientific, because there's like rock creatures running around and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I get there's it's more ground. kind of grounded, sort of, I guess.
Groundlings.
Groundish. Grounded, yeah. No. It's pretty biblical. I mean, not accurate so much as just, it's there's lots of fantastical things that happen in it.
Right, but he kind of takes, not that he takes God out of it, but he kind of like makes God more of an abstract concept in it, right? I don't remember. I guess it's not really.
I've seen it
pertinent to
one
this.
time and it was a long time ago, but yeah, I mean, it's not pertinent to this, but no, it's a different take. We'll say that.
And I didn't mean that your take wasn't pertinent. I just
No,
mean
no,
like
no, I
my
don't think-
question about it is not relevant
found
so
it-
much.
I was
Well,
just saying, at the end of the day, I just found it. I find it interesting that we do have people like Nick was saying that Serling writes
Well, I
a lot
mean,
of
that-
things that center around religion and religious beliefs, but he himself was not. And I was like, well, I mean,
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say. Like, you look at Aronofsky and you look at Rod Serling. If they don't, it's interesting how they will do movies that are religious-based movies. Like in essence, like they deal with like Noah, or they deal with like God and the mother and stuff like that. And then they're not even religious. It's almost like they're using religion as a way to like slap back at people who are religious. And I always found that interesting. And I have Ryan,
Aronofsky definitely was.
yeah, and like Ryan, you're religious, and I'm not religious, and everybody, I don't know what you guys are, but it's interesting to see somebody like Rod Serling, who we identify as not being very religious, tell a story like this about the idea of the devil and how he manipulates people and how he forces himself into a world and corrupts the world, and he's not.
But it's never
I don't-
disrespectful though.
No. I'm not saying it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's just it's interesting how that works, and it's interesting. Once again, it's written by Charles Beaumont, but it's always talked about how Rod Serling has a huge influence on the stories that are being written.
Well, he's
And,
written
like,
some of them like that. I mean, there's been a lot of religious subtext to many of the stories, and definitely some that just outright dealt with the devil, angels, all that stuff. And I don't know, I can't name each and every one he's written, but I know he had to have written some of those. And I mean, I find the difference between him and like some of the more modern takes or just other takes, like with Noah, you may be right. Noah may be kind of like a clapback or something like that. I don't feel like that with Serling in the Twilight Zone. They never felt disrespectful. It just felt like, hey, I'm telling a good story, and whether he believed in that stuff or not, he thought it was a good story. So I never felt like he was trying to, it's from a religious point at least, trying to make any type of statement. Now, whether, I mean, you could throw the argument out there that in the 60s he'd never be able to make that statement. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't know.
Well, I mean,
He didn't strike me as the type. He struck me as the type who was really like open. I didn't know the guy, but he was open to everybody's different.
he was
beliefs
extremely
and
progressive for a guy in the 60s, like the things he was doing. But to kind of conclude this conclude this episode, Ellington takes off the stick of truth, which apparently he grinds down to a very small stick, and later on in the
the
episode,
novelty store version.
yeah,
It's a Cheeto. It's a
He does
glorified
have that
Cheeto.
itty bitty.
Stick
It's
and make it a
comical.
smaller stick.
The
That'll-
twig
Yeah.
of truth. He got the twig of truth.
It's like Yoda. He moved the log and found a little
Yeah.
tiny stick. It must be his son.
yeah.
He-
The devil basically has.
Moved a log and there was a tiny stick.
Yeah. But the devil basically has early MCU aging technology, so he becomes the devil. He apparently is Dracula, so he smokes himself out of the window into the beyond. And it basically, Brother Jerome's like, you're gonna have to live with this forever, which is an interesting idea. And then basically what ends up happening is we go back to the flashback. Ellington's talking to whoever he's talking to, a maid or somebody he knows. We start learning about how the darkness came back into effect, the negativity, World War II, Korean War, all this stuff is happening. And I think that's interesting how once he trapped the devil back in the closet of this wherever he's at, it's kind of peaceful again. But as we know, temptation comes into effect. He leaves. He's like, I'll be back in a few minutes, which is the stupidest mistake he ever makes. And of course, the housekeeper, maid or whatever, goes and opens up the door, releasing the devil back onto the world. And that's where the episode ends. And it's interesting, it's intriguing once again, curiosity, as Ryan said, kills the cat. Temptation, all this stuff happens, and it's a repeat cycle. That's where I was looking at when it comes to the end. It's we may see ourselves as good, but we're always going to be tempted by the bad, the seduction, the ideas of the dangerous ways, like for instance, like jumping off a cliff, skydiving, or anything like that. It's very dangerous, but we do it because we love the thrill, we love the temptation, we love the concept. We go and eat fried food and pizza and stuff like that. It's just
Skydiving.
they're what's that? No, but you know what I mean.
Not that dangerous.
If you go splat, no, I'm just kidding. But that's where
I have a skydiving license. It's not that dangerous. I mean, you are jumping out of the plane. I guess there's a element of danger.
Okay, so we'll say I don't know, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm thinking of.
The landing part is the dangerous part. Okay.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
The terminal velocity, is actually kind of fun. It's just when you get past that.
Living in Florida and Alabama is a dangerous place when it comes to heat. So we'll go with that. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, that definitely.
But anyways, so the episode ends, and before we get into our final thoughts of the episode, Jacob, read the was a two-line closing narration.
Oh, I'm already there. Okay, cool. Ancient folk saying, you can catch the devil, but you can't hold him long. Ask Brother Jerome. Ask David Ellington. They know, and they'll go on knowing to the end of their days and beyond in the Twilight Zone.
I feel so relieved that it's so short.
Yes, I feel like next week's going to be like 3 paragraphs long.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. Just it's so long. Anyway, so with that said, Ryan, I'll go to you first once again. Now that you've seen the whole episode from a critical standpoint, your overall thoughts.
Yeah, like I said, this is still one of my favorites. I love all the implications that are made here. I like how everything builds up to the ultimate decision. I thought the acting was good across the board. I was like a fan of the camera work. I know Dutch angles are not for everyone, but I thought it was all handled pretty well. And I think around this time, this was like, I dare say, peak Twilight Zone right here. This is before all the videotape nonsense. Like this was when Serling was just doing nothing but just quality after quality. And we're right smack dab in the middle of it right here.
Yeah, it's an impressive episode. It really is. Like I said, as we talk about, and Jacob, you bring this up all the time, like you go into this episode thinking one thing, and then it ends up bringing a lot more messages out than you ever realize. And I think even myself and Ryan as well is loving this episode as much as we both do. There was stuff even being brought up that I didn't even think about, which is kind of awesome. So but Jacob or Triv, what do you guys think concluding the episode as a review?
First off, being the fact that they kept the devil in the closet, is he now technically R. Kelly?
It's Tom Cruise.
Sorry, that was a bad joke. There were a couple things I really enjoyed, like the fact that the devil says in the name of mercy instead in the name of God. I thought that was kind of neat. Like it was a cool little side thing. It kind of gives you an indicator of what he is. Also, like when he goes behind the columns and he changes as he goes along, that was a pretty well done effect.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and I guess
his makeup, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and the makeup was kind of hokey, but I mean, given what it was, I think you're trying to tell like a ton of story in not very much time, so you kind of have to be very blatant with the way your shit looks. I think.
I got something about that too when we get there. No, finish your thoughts.
Oh, that's kind of all I got. So
yeah, the end. He was a dumbass. I mean, why would he leave that lady there knowing he went through the exact same thing? He told this woman the same story that he had been told, and he remembers how he felt. And does he think that this housekeeper is going to be like, oh yeah, okay, totally believe you? But why just send her home? Why? I don't know. Why did he do that?
I was going to bring up, that's the thing. Like, why did these monks allow him to just kind of be there? Like, if they're that protective of this situation, why did they bring a guy that they don't know into a monastery with this very ancient, creature of hell and the devil. Like it's that type of thing where the things that the decisions we make sometimes are just idiotic and stupid. And when you're, I don't know, that's where I come from. It feels like it's just, you make stupid decisions sometimes and you pay the price, and he made that decision. Like I said, I that's where I come from. So I don't know.
I guess it was to show that human beings are always being manipulated by the devil, and that we're always going to be, at some point in time, we're going to give into temptation. Maybe not we, but human beings as a whole, humankind is going to give into temptation, no matter how many times we see we shouldn't, et cetera, or something along those lines. But
that man fell out a 2-foot window,
Yeah.
Do you think too it's just more a case of like, because they could have kept, and I guess we kind of talked about this, but the monks, when he came in, they could have kept him in a side room, helped him, and then sent him on his way, and he never would have known. Same thing with that room. Like, if you caught him, you just say, okay, there's no reason for you to go towards this room. And I know that takes away from the story. That kind of is like, well, if they had turned left or instead of right, that would have did the entire story. But I think that the fact that you can't hold the devil for long, that whole line, he'll always figure out a way out. And I'm sure the devil was manipulating, Ellington as well as, Father Jerome, as far as everybody else, even from behind the closet.
Well, actually, that whole ending was not part of the original story.
Very true.
There is an original ending that I thought I would be interested to hear if you guys thought would be. I think the idea is interesting, and I think it would have changed. It wouldn't have changed the whole sentiment of the ending, but I think that. Well, here it is. Okay, the original ending, he lets the Howling Man go, and he just escapes. And then they're like, "Oh, you let the devil go!" Ah, and then the world goes on. He doesn't necessarily correlate. Hey, I let the devil go. Wars happened. Bad shit happened again. And then it's not until like years and years later he sees. I think it was like the devil, the Howling Man. He sees him as a Nazi or something like that. It's like it's
a Nazi commander invading Poland.
He sees him. He realizes, oh my God, he really was the devil. Years and years later, that was the original ending. I don't remember how I'm not sure how I saw it. Maybe a paper or something. And that's the big revelation in the end is, oh God, I did do this. I was the cause of this. I don't know. I found that interesting. I think that could be an interesting way. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten that bitchin' transition into Dr. Devil Strange, but I find that there's a little bit more nuance there. I wonder if they were, someone in a suit suggested that they do the devil thing because they're like, I don't think people will get it because it was a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more, low key. And I wonder if somebody was like, well, no, our dumbass audience, they need to see the devil so that that they know that that's what he is. And that's why we got the transformation scene. I don't know. But I thought the original ending, it's the same thing. I mean, the overall, the story is the same. I just thought it was a little bit more of an interesting way that they told it. I think I would have found a little bit more, I don't know, creativeness in that, if you will. As far as like overall this episode for me, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very solid Twilight Zone episode. I thought it was really good. But I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think it was as great as a lot of people say it is. I thought it was interesting. There was a lot of nuance to it and little things going on that I didn't recognize at first. And talking here today made it opened up some stuff. And like I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. I saw it very much more surface level when I viewed it, and discussing some of the implications of what could or could not have been going on when they were writing and making this thing. It was interesting, and I find that does make it even more interesting. And it is a solid episode, but I'm not sitting here saying, oh, this is top 10 or anything. Now, I know I'm the minority when it comes to that, like not even just in this group, but in just like everybody, because this is a very popular episode. And I'm not saying it's bad. It was just, I had a good time with it, but I'm not like, oh, it's the greatest episode we've had. It's probably the best episode we've had this season, but the season so far has not been like the best, and we're only a few episodes in. So, and that's where I stand with it.
Yeah,
So rating this is going to be great.
I mean, I pretty much given kind of all my thoughts. I love this episode. I think it's it's one of the true standout gems of the series. But I get it. I get kind of the ending kind of can be a little not great for some people. It's just the unfortunate nature of the episode that is trying to be presented. But that happens a lot in this Twilight Zone. There's some episodes
I don't
that
think it
have
was
great
bad.
endings. No, I'm not. Yeah, you're definitely not
I
saying
thought,
that.
and
But,
some of the things were poking fun. I
Mhm.
fully recognize when watching it, it was 1960. It's 1960 on a TV show that it had its budget cut, so I could look at like the I'm talking smack about the devil costume and all that. I mean, I don't really hold that against it. I get it.
Yeah.
It was 1960. That was the traditional view of the devil back then. And the transit, like Triv said, I thought the transition shots were actually really cool because they had that panning shot where it went through and it was very seamless. I thought that was a really neat effect. Instead of just having him sitting there and they overlaid another one and faded into it like they used to like with Wolfman or something. So I thought that was really creative. I mean, I don't hold that makeup effect against them. I mean, it is what it is. That was the time that they were, that it was made.
So yeah, I think overall, I think it's I think we all agree it's an interesting episode with some good messages. Some of us like it more than others, but to
most.
But anyways, so with that said, we'll head into the last segment, which of course is the greatest list ever created. No one will make a list any greater because I said that for reasons. No, okay.
Carve that shit in stone.
Exactly. As one of them drops. I would put this as a top 10 episode, but what about you guys? Ryan, you've looked over the list. Where would you, if you were to put this on the list from what we have, where would you put it? Like, let's just kind of discuss like where do you guys think is a good part to put?
For me personally, I think I'd go number 3. It's certainly better
Number
than
3.
Stop at Willoughby.
He's throwing the gauntlet down. I like it.
See, I'm gonna put it. I would put it someplace that pops Perchance to Dream back up in the top 10.
Oh, we're not going there. Oh God. Jacob's actually could concede just to get Perchance to Dream down to like number 41.
Oh, that's happening.
Well, eventually,
that's
yeah.
what we need to ask that. We need to ask that before we go any further. This should have been a prereq.
I shouldn't have brought it up. Why did I bring it up?
Oh, it was going to come up. Don't worry. Before we even.
That's what she said.
Ryan, before we even started the episode, I apologize. We should have asked you this. Looking at this list, where would you put Perchance to Dream?
Perchance to Dream.
Number 11 currently.
Cat Lady, Roller Coasters.
Oh, that one.
Guy who can't sleep.
Oh, so
he's the only one that couldn't sleep, by the way, but go ahead.
So
I had no trouble at all.
The late 50s Nightmare on Elm Street, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
It's the best thing that could have been said about that episode.
Well, looking at the list that I have, number 10 is People Are Alike All Over, and number 12 is The Hitchhiker. Putting it over The Hitchhiker is a bit generous, I would say, because The Hitchhiker is actually quite unnerving. World of Difference. I'm struggling to remember that one.
I think that's the one where he travels back and he's like in a TV show.
It's the actor, like the character that a guy plays becomes that goes into the body of the actor that plays him.
Yeah.
And
that one. Yeah.
Feel free to go lower on the list if you like. I mean, it's okay.
I honestly think I'd replace Hitchhiker and Perchance to Dream. That would be my placement.
Yes. Damn it. I'm all kinds of screwed up. Sorry. That didn't work.
Oh man.
Yeah, and guess I don't favor. I don't see that episode in very high light.
I can tell.
I unfortunately was not a part of the show as I came on at episode 11, I believe it was officially. I think episode 8 I was there, but yeah. Perchance to Dream was, I think, right before I started because
Perchance to Dream was episode 10, I think.
Yeah, it was right. Yeah, if I had been here for that episode, it would not be where it is. It probably wouldn't have been as low as I wanted it for sure, but I would have fought tooth and nail. But okay, so just wondering, just curious.
Here's where I lie on this episode. I would put this I really like Nightmare as a Child. I would put this below Purple Testament, above Nightmare as a Child.
That high? Wow.
That's because I love this episode.
Right,
I'm
right,
biased
right.
A little bit, but this
Oh,
is
you
like
guys
who
are gonna
was-
put me in a rough space, aren't you? Because Jacob's talking like episode like.
Oh, don't try and think of where I'm putting it.
Where are you put? I really don't know. Like, I like this episode. It's a very good episode.
So we got a 3 spot and a 4 spot right
Right.
now from the two. Like
5. Yeah, mine would be 5. I
5.
think. Yeah.
Okay,
5.
So 3
top
or
5. We
5?
got
Yeah.
two top 5s. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys' views. I do. But if it were me, and I hadn't, no pressure, and I fully realize is not going to go here, and I'm cool with that because we can, we'll work this out. But I honestly would probably have it around 20.
Wow.
But and that doesn't mean it's bad. I don't think that's surrounded.
Yeah. Obviously.
Actually, I'd put it probably right in that. I was just like saying in that area. I'd put it above Execution. After Hours. I'd put it above After Hours. I'd put it above Passage for Trumpet. Has the devil in that one? No, that wasn't the devil. He just looked like
No, that was the angel Gabriel.
yeah. But he looked like the devil.
Let me ask you this, Jacob.
I'd put it
Do you like
under
this-
What You Need, so 17. Just
Well, do you
off
like
the
this better
cuff.
than Man in the Bottle?
Which?
Man in the Bottle was a season
Number
2
8.
It was the genie episode. We had Ben on.
Oh.
Yeah, where the main shopkeeper dude uses second wish to turn into Hitchcock.
I actually, I actually like Man in the Bottle more than my viewing experience. I enjoy both of them, but if I was like, hey, I have to watch one of these right now, I'd watch Man in the Bottle. I like that episode. I thought it was fun. It was real breezy, and I enjoyed that episode. I enjoyed this one too, but I liked it a little bit more. Had a little bit more going on, like on the screen. But For Chance to Dream is at number 11, and it needs to go down. So this is definitely going in the top 10.
Top 11,
Yeah, top 11.
technically.
And you guys know where I'm at. This is really more of a between the three of you, and I'll just kind of be like, yeah, sure. Because
I mean, you're not going to be upset if we put in the top 10, right? This isn't like the Invaders where
No.
I'm going to argue with you for like a 3-hour period about it.
Oh, that's happening. But no, the
Ultimately, you have to edit this, Nick. So, a 3-hour argument, you're going to have to edit down to like 20 minutes. So,
Yeah,
no, I mean,
true.
there are, and that's the beauty of one of these lists. Because when I say that, I go around 17, I think is where I said I would put it. That actually 16 is, 17 is where just off I look at. But then there are some above that I like this episode, like Mirror Image. I like this more than Mirror Image, but I liked What You Need more than this.
Mhm.
And What You Need is under Mirror Image. So, you get that whole situation. And really 17 is not that far from the top 10. So I don't picture 17 spot a bad spot. I think that's especially at 156 episods. Or so far, what do we got here? 41 episodes.
Yeah.
17.
Mhm.
You're still on the good side. But out of the top 10, if I had to stick with, if we only had 10 episodes or 11, if this was our 12th episode, I would say I would put it Time Enough at Oh, that's the Burgess Meredith reading one. I just don't. It's such a top heavy episode. World of His Own, Nightmare as a Child. I think Nightmare as a Child is better. World of His Own.
Yeah, that's the one with the crazy ending, season finale.
Oh yeah, I always get it mixed up with the guy who goes. Okay, I really like that one. Yeah, I would put this at number 7.
I'd be good with number 7.
Where were you originally looking at, Triv? Because you were like, I don't
Me?
know, I don't want to. Yeah.
My initial thing was top 15. Hearing how
See,
high up
not that
everybody
far off.
else kind of had it, I was
Not
like,
everybody.
well, everyone but you.
See, I could
I
put
was-
this at number 7 just on the simple fact that the ending alone on World of His Own is so good. But like I said, I'm just looking at it from my point of view, and to me it would always be a top 5 episode. But
Oh no,
when
understood.
when it comes to committee, top 10 is fine with me wherever. So
Well, and
I mean, just because I said 7 doesn't mean that's
No,
where it has to
no,
go.
the
but
thing
World of
is-
His Own. World of His Own is fantastic.
I mean
with what
that's
it's doing,
like
so.
that is my go-to favorite episode. So that's
Mhm.
that's kind of where I sit. Like I was thinking, upper like 5 to 10 is kind of where I felt a little bit more comfortable. When Nick brought up A Man in a Bottle, I'm more of a breezy Twilight Zone person. Like I love the ones that are kind of not goofy, but just like a little bit lighter in tone. And 7 is kind of a good middle ground there. So it was going to be in that between 5 and 10. And I'm good with 7 there. Because the World of His Own, like I say, is like, it's my go-to. So
Ryan,
Time
any
Enough At
thoughts?
Last is what put me at 7, honestly. If Time Enough At Last was under Man in the Bottle, I would have probably put Man in the Bottle over this episode, just barely. That's just me. I like that episode. I thought it was creative. But Time Enough At Last, I like this one more than Time Enough At Last. Time Enough At Last had a great ending, but the rest of it was just like, come on.
it was an interesting idea episode.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that one either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much, and I always point the finger at this one almost every episode. Third from the Sun, which was one of my favorite episodes for a long time, still is a fantastic ending. But everything else, the other 20 minutes of the episode is just like, what? Okay, stuff's happening. Oh well, but it just ends on such a great bang that it makes up for it. But it doesn't change the fact, critically looking at it, it's just a bottom heavy episode.
Right.
Without
Got
that
apple
ending,
bottom jeans and boots with fur. The whole
Yeah,
club
yeah.
was looking at her.
Mhm.
She hit the floor.
They
Next
hit-
thing you
they
know,
hit the floor.
Shorty got low, 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 low,
Low,
low.
very low, very low.
So, anyways,
Ryan's like, I'm never coming on this podcast again.
We love you, Ryan.
but no,
honestly,
like,
I'd love to come
Ryan-
back whenever you guys.
oh yeah,
want.
no, you've been great. We'll definitely have you back on. But I mean, is that seem all right to you for number 7? I mean, I know you would put it high like I would, but World
I
of
would
His
go.
Own-
I would go
Oh.
higher, but I do agree with what Jacob and Triv have been saying.
We
I think,
appreciate the fact that you aren't, a stick in the mud like Nick.
Wow. Wait till the invaders.
Kidding.
Trust me.
Kidding. We love you.
No, I know. We joke. It's fun. So, but yeah, I think that'll work.
As long as we can move 16 millimeter shrine up to number 7 or number 8,
No, we're not doing
then
that.
come on. Why not?
Because we're not sadists in this.
Well, I am. I mean,
The invaders will be war.
so
We're
I
going
might-
to
Ryan, you
war.
might not want to come back after that one.
should I put on my war
I will
helmet now?
fight. I will fight over there. I will
fight
drive
for the honor. Fight for your
to
honor.
Florida with a big stick.
There.
Ooh.
You
That is
go.
my favorite episode.
Oh man. Okay, so anyway, so with that said, that is going to be a good place. So at new number 7 is of course the Howling Man. Number 1 still the Monsters to Do on Maple Street. Number 41 is still the Fever. And yeah, so the next episode is called the famous episode. Everyone, it plays every marathon you can ever imagine for the Twilight Zone. It, of course, is Eye of the Beholder, which is actually directed once again by Douglas Hayes. I think this is, let me just double check. I'm looking at season 1 for some reason. It's written by Rod Serling. So Rod Serling comes back. It also has a subtitle of The Private World of Darkness, which I don't know what that means.
It was a copyright thing. Someone had used Eye of the Beholder for something and made a big stink edit to CBS, and so until I think the DVD or Blu-ray release, it was called Private World of Darkness.
I could see
Really?
that from the patient perspective on that.
Yeah, but what really they made a stink? That's how somebody going to claim Eye of the Beholder. That's like,
Yeah, it was a whole big thing. They threatened to sue. It was a lot of nonsense.
Oh, there
What
was a
happened when the show
YouTube
becomes
channel that
popular?
tried to copyright the word react.
Oh,
So-
Fine Brothers. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
But I mean, it
Not
stars
so
Maxine.
fine.
No, not even
Exactly.
remotely.
Bunch of jerk asses. But it stars Maxine Stewart, stars Donna Douglas, William D. Gordon. It's we everybody knows this episode if they know the Twilight Zone.
the
So we'll
episode
look
that got
forward-
me to watch all of them.
Yeah, it's
That's-
pretty much a starting point for a lot of people. So
I'd seen the
um,
Twilight Zone before I grew up with it, but like not original runs, but yeah, I think it was like either my real late teens or my early 20s. I saw that episode on TV one evening, and I was like, "That's really cool," and that's what prompted me to go out and get all of them and binge the entire 4, 5 seasons, however many there were.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this episode. So we will hopefully have Alex back on the episode for this episode. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. So we'll wait for her to come on for that, because she was on Elegy and that was a fun episode to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that. Ryan, once again, thank you for coming on. I know how much of a big a fan. We will definitely have you on again at some point in the future. We'll figure out an episode to talk about, but thank you for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure for, somebody that loves, the Twilight Zone. But as I always ask, Triv and Jacob, you have a YouTube channel, and where can they find that YouTube channel, and what kind of content and all that good stuff?
Okay, so my channel is just called Ryan Cam. I cover a lot of new release movies. Try to do a Twilight Zone video every Monday. Next review coming up is Static, like I mentioned, and I've been having a lot of fun doing that. I'm at 225 subscribers, which is earth shattering to me, because I was like, if I get one, then that'll be cool. And now it's like, I actually have people that watch and actually comment on it. I didn't think that would be possible, but there is that, and then also my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd is just RyanCam20. So look me up, give me a follow if you like, and check me out.
Yeah,
Congrats on the
definitely.
subs.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Definitely check out his channel. Like I said, he has done a video on the Howling Man, and it's absolutely fantastic. I watched it. Like I said, he does a really nice job. So definitely check it out. Triv and Jacob. Triv, when you're not being stuck in a room with a stick of truth and all that good stuff, where can they find you?
Well, after I edit with the stick of truth up the hole where the sun don't shine, you can find me here on YouTube at Trivial Theater. I'm also on Twitter at Trivial Theater. I just put out Leprechaun in the Hood, and coming up next is Troll 2. So definitely check it out.
They're eating him.
Oh my
God! I thought that was Ryan Reynolds for the longest time when he was younger. Somebody told me that a long time ago. They were like, "That's Ryan Reynolds when he was a teenager," which the math doesn't even add up. But
he was doing young Hercules.
Yeah, I mean, it just I've thought that for the long until like a year or two ago. I thought that. I was like, "Oh, it's not him." Kind of looks like him.
And speaking of Jacob, and if you wanted to send him Thor's Gluteus Maximus pictures, because apparently he can't see the movie because projector breakdowns, where can they find you and send you and see your content?
You can find me on Twitter at reddevil2.com or at reddevil2 not.com, and that's where I post stuff. But you can find me on YouTube. That's where all my stuff is, where I review movies and stuff like that. As of the release of this video, I would have just done my 3,000 subscriber AMA deal where I ate hot wings and stuff and tortured myself for some reason.
Yay.
That Nick was a part of. And also I announced in that, which as of the viewing of this, you'll know that, as of the recording, not so much, that my channel is going in a bit of a different direction. Not a huge direction. I'm still dealing with movies and stuff, but I'm going to be also dealing with a lot more movie news. I'm going to be putting on a show twice a week now. Go to my channel to check out more about that. There should be trailers and information for that. A new show I'm going to be doing, and there'll be little snippets of that coming out to you guys. So yeah, still reviews and stuff like that, but it's going to be some more extra content. So just more content, more the merrier, which anybody who watches my channel will know that the past few weeks I've had less content each week. That's why, because I've been working on this. So now I should be getting back to daily content and multiple pieces of daily content. So excited about that. Check it out.
You'll definitely want to check out his fucking content.
My content.
And you can find my content at Movie Emporium. That's where everything is posted for these podcasts, these episodes. You can find all my videos I post there on Movie Emporium, on Twitter, all that stuff, as well as audio feeds for this podcast are on the normal feeds. So definitely go check it out and rate and all that good stuff. But with that said, thank you once again to Ryan for coming on, and for myself, Ryan, Triv, and Jacob. We'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Peace out.
Bye.
Peace, love,
Bye.
chicken grease, mouth is peace.
Yeah. And like there was a snake that was a purple pile of poop, and then like the little weird dudes that look like dicks. They're like floor poop, and then
Oh,
there's like 3 of them.
Sticklers.
Yep, and then there was 3 of them, and it was like triple floor poop, and then or triple floor shit, and then there was Party Dick was the one that looks like a worm or a centipede with the jaws.
That guy was my hero.
And then there was a bee with like a stinger facing forward, and he's like big dick bee and
That's Big Dig B.
anyway, sorry.
Okay. Oh, so sorry. I sent that.
Okay.
I knew it was gonna be funny. That's why I sent it to you guys. But anyways.